The sun was setting behind the dark trees of the old forest, casting long shadows on the ground. Birds stopped singing and the wind moved softly through the leaves. Deep inside the forest, near an old ruined church, a faint cry could be heard. The cry was soft but full of fear and pain. It came from a young girl who was all alone. She was not like any other girl from this world. Her skin had a strange glow, and her eyes were bright and big. Her clothes were torn and dirty, and she was shivering from cold and fear. She tried to move, but her legs were weak, and she fell down on the cold ground. She looked around for help, but only silence answered her call. The forest was full of dangers, wild animals, and people who might want to harm her. She knew she had to find shelter soon, or she would not survive the night. Her voice grew louder, begging for someone to hear her, someone to save her. But all she got was cold wind and the sound of dry leaves falling. Far away, in a small village near the edge of the forest, a man was closing his shop. His name was Jack, a simple man who lived alone and liked quiet life. He heard the cry from the forest and stopped, his heart beating fast. He looked towards the trees, but he could not see anything in the dark. Most people in the village ignored such cries, thinking it was just animals or children playing tricks. But Jack felt something different, a strange pull inside him that told him to go and code him. Check. He took a small lantern and a walking stick, then walked slowly towards the forest. The closer he got, the louder the crying became, and the more worried he felt. When Jack reached the old church, he saw the girl lying near the broken wall. She was weak and scared, but when she saw him, she tried to sit up. "Please help me," she whispered with a trembling voice. "They are coming for me." Jack did not understand who they were, but he knew she needed help. He moved closer and gently lifted her up, supporting her fragile body. Her skin was cold like ice, and her eyes were full of tears. Jack wrapped his coat around her to keep her warm and whispered, "You are safe now." The girl looked at him with hope for the first time in many days. Jack carried her carefully out of the forest and towards his small home. He could feel her, trembling in his arms, and his heart filled with a strange mix of fear and kindness. Inside the house, he gave her warm water and a blanket, then sat beside her quietly. The girl stayed silent for a while, then slowly began to tell her story. "My name is Lyra," she said softly. "I am not from this world." Jack's eyes grew wide in surprise, but he did not say anything, just listened. "I was running from my home planet, from people who want to hurt me. Here, on this earth, I hoped to find safety, but I was lost and alone." Jack looked at her with sympathy and asked, "Why do they want to hurt you?" Lyra looked down and whispered, "Because I hold a secret that can change everything." She did not say more, but Jack could see the fear and pain in her eyes. He promised himself that he would protect her no matter what. Outside, the night grew darker and the wind howled louder. The forest seemed alive with unknown dangers waiting in the shadows. But inside Jack's small home, there was a warm light and a fragile hope. Two strangers from different worlds had met by chance, and their story was just beginning. Meanwhile, far away in the dark city, shadowy figures watched the village through strange machines. They whispered and laughed, confident that soon they would find Lyra and bring her back. But they did not know about Jack and the courage of one human who would stand against them. The night held many secrets, and the cry for help was only the first of many. Jack sat by the window, watching the stars and thinking about the strange girl he had saved. He knew that his life was about to change forever, but deep inside, he felt a new strength, a new hope that even in the darkest times, one human could make a difference. One human could protect the weak. The cry for help was answered, not by many, but by one, and that one was ready to fight for a future where kindness and courage would win. Days passed after Jack saved Lyra, but the danger around them grew stronger. Lyra stayed hidden in Jack's small home at the edge of the village. Afraid to step outside, Jack tried to learn more about her world, her people, and the secret she carried. But Lyra spoke carefully, afraid that even small words could bring trouble. One evening, while Jack was preparing food, Lyra looked out the window with worried eyes. She whispered, "They are closer now." "Jack, I can feel it." Jack's face grew serious. He knew that the enemies were not just stories, but real and near. He took his old hunting rifle and checked the locks on all doors and windows. Lyra explained, "My people are different from humans. We have powers and knowledge, but there are those who want to use that power for bad things, and they want me back." Jack listened and promised, "No matter who comes, I will protect you." They both knew it would not be easy, but they had no choice but to stay strong. At night, strange noises came from the forest, shadows moving between the trees. Jack and Lyra stayed close, watching every sound and every movement. Suddenly, a loud crack broke the silence. Someone was trying to break in. Jack grabbed his rifle and whispered, "Get ready, they are here." Outside, dark figures in strange armor moved quickly, searching for the girl. They carried devices that could track her energy, making hiding very hard. But Jack and Lyra were ready. They had learned to trust each other in a short time. Together, they waited for the right moment to fight back. Lyra's eyes began to glow softly, and Jack felt a strange warmth beside him. She held his hand and whispered, "I can protect us for a little while, but not long." Jack nodded, feeling brave because of her strength and his own will. The night was filled with danger, but neither wanted to give up or run away. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the house. One enemy had broken the door. Jack fired his rifle, hitting the attacker. But more were coming fast. Lyra stood up and used a strange power, sending a bright wave that pushed the enemies back. The attackers shouted in surprise, not expecting such power from a girl. Jack helped Lyra escape through a secret door behind the fireplace. They ran into the forest where the trees hid them in the darkness. Breathing hard, they looked at each other. "Knowing this was just the beginning," Lyra said. "We must find the place where I belong." "Before they find me again," Jack agreed. "I will help you, no matter what. We will face this together." With hope and fear mixed in their hearts, they started their journey into the unknown. The forest was full of secrets, but so were they. And their bond grew stronger. Enemies were close, but so was the chance for a new life and a new future. The hidden danger was real, but so was the courage of one human and one alien. Together, they would fight the darkness and find the light. Ahead, asterisk. After escaping into the deep forest, Jack and Lyra found a quiet place to rest. The night was calm, but both knew danger was never far behind. Lyra looked at Jack with tired eyes and slowly began to share more of her story. Her voice was soft, but full of sadness, telling about her lost home and broken family. Jack listened closely, feeling the weight of her pain and fear. He shared his own story too, about a lonely life in a small village with no real friends. In those quiet moments, a strange connection grew between them. Two strangers from different worlds, finding comfort in each other's words. Lyra explained how her people once ruled many stars, but power and greed had caused war, and she had to run away to survive. She was hunted because she carried the last hope for peace in her blood. If her enemies found her, they would use her power to control many worlds. Jack felt a strong urge to protect her, not just with weapons, but with his heart. He promised, "You don't have to be alone anymore. I will stand with you." Lyra smiled faintly, feeling something she had never felt before, hope. As dawn broke, the two prepared to move again. Jack taught Lyra how to use simple tools for survival on Earth. Lyra showed Jack a small glowing stone she kept, a piece of her planet's magic. Together, they planned their path toward a safe place where Lyra might find help. But danger was not far behind. Unknown watchers followed their trail, waiting for the right time to strike. Jack and Lyra knew the journey ahead would test their strength and trust, yet the secret bond between them gave courage to face what was coming. In the quiet forest, under the rising sun, two very different lives became one. A human and an alien, joined by fate and the promise to protect each other. The world was big and full of danger, but together they were stronger than before. Days passed quietly, but the calm was only a mask hiding the coming storm. Jack and Lyra traveled deeper into the wild. Searching for safety, they moved carefully, watching every sound and shadow in the forest. Both knew their enemies were close and growing stronger with each passing hour. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a strange feeling filled the air. Jack stopped and looked around, his senses alert to danger. Suddenly, dark shapes appeared between the trees. Soldiers wearing strange armor. They moved with silent steps, their eyes scanning the forest for the glowing girl. Lyra's heart pounded as she held Jack's hand. Tightly she whispered, "They have found us," but her voice did not show fear. Jack nodded, raising his rifle, ready to protect her at any cost. The forest echoed with the sound of footsteps and quiet commands. The soldiers spread out, blocking all paths to escape. Lyra closed her eyes and called on her hidden power. A soft light glowed from her hands, and the air around them shimmered. Jack stood close, knowing her strength was their only hope now. Suddenly, the soldiers attacked. Throwing nets that crackled with energy, Jack fired his rifle, hitting one attacker, but more kept coming. Lyra used her power to break the nets and push the enemies back. Their fight was fierce, under the dark sky filled with stars. Despite their courage, the numbers were too many, and the soldiers advanced. Jack and Lyra retreated deeper into the forest. Using every trick to hide, they found an old cave, dark and cold, but safe for the moment. Inside, they caught their breath, wounds hurting but spirits unbroken. Lyra looked at Jack and said, "We cannot run forever. I must face my past to protect our future." Jack smiled weakly. "Then we face it together. No matter what comes." The enemy was near, but their bond had never been stronger. Outside the cave, the soldiers waited, confident they would find their prize soon. But Jack and Lyra had a plan, a secret that might turn the battle. The forest held more than trees and shadows. It held hope, courage, and the will to fight. After days of running and hiding, Lyra finally trusted Jack enough to tell the whole truth. One quiet night, under the soft light of the stars, she spoke with a heavy heart. "My true name is Princess Lyra, last heir of the Star Kingdom," she said softly. Jack listened in silence, amazed by the weight of her words. Lyra explained how her people once ruled a great empire among the stars, but war and betrayal destroyed her home, and she was forced to flee. Her enemies wanted her power, a power tied to her bloodline. If they caught her, they would use her to control the galaxy. Jack felt a new respect for the brave girl who stood before him. He said, "You carry more than a secret. You carry hope for many." Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes. "But that hope makes me a target. I must find allies who still believe in peace and justice." Together, they looked at maps and plans, hoping to find a safe place. Jack promised to help her reach those who could fight for her cause. But time was running out. The enemies were closing in with every hour. Suddenly, a loud noise shattered the quiet night. An attack was coming. Jack grabbed his rifle, and Lyra prepared her powers, ready for the fight. Their battle was not just for survival, but for the future of many worlds. In that moment, Jack understood the true meaning of courage and loyalty. The revelation changed everything. They were no longer just a man and a girl. They were a team, a family, and the last hope. Against darkness, the stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if watching their brave journey. After the big truth was shared, Jack and Lyra knew they needed help. They could not fight the dark enemies alone, no matter how brave they were. Together, they searched for others who would stand with them, people and beings who believed in peace and wanted to protect the weak. In a hidden village far from the forest, they found old friends of Lyra. Some were warriors, strong and wise. Others were healers with special skills. At first, the strangers were careful, unsure if they could trust a human. But Jack showed his courage and kindness, winning their hearts slowly. Lyra's friends told stories of battles long ago, of loss and hope. They trained Jack to understand their ways and use new tools. Together, they formed a new team, ready to fight the coming storm. Each member had a role, each heart shared the same goal. Meanwhile, the enemy grew angry and impatient, sending spies and soldiers. They wanted to break the alliance before it could grow stronger. But Jack and Lyra's team was smart and united, protecting each other. One night, under a silver moon, they planned their next move, a daring attack on the enemy's stronghold to stop them from chasing Lyra. Jack looked at Lyra and said, "We fight not just for us, but for all who need hope." Lyra smiled, feeling stronger than ever, ready to face what lay ahead. The alliance was born from trust, courage, and the will to change the future. Together, they were no longer alone, but a force that could not be broken. The final battle was near, the sky dark and full of thunder. Jack, Lyra, and their new allies stood together, ready to fight for their future. The enemy's stronghold was close, but so was their hope and courage as they moved forward. The ground shook beneath their feet. Lyra's power glowed brighter than ever, lighting the path through the dark. Jack held his rifle tight, his heart steady with determination. The enemy was waiting, fierce and cruel, but the alliance was stronger. They fought with every ounce of strength, every beat of their hearts. Lyra used her powers to protect and heal, while Jack led the charge. The battle was long and hard, but finally the enemy began to fall. Their leader tried to escape, but Lyra stopped him with a wave of light. "Your time is over," she said, voice calm but strong. With the enemy defeated, peace began to return to the stars. Lyra's people started to rebuild, and new friendships grew between worlds. Jack and Lyra stood side by side, knowing their journey was just beginning. The dawn broke over the horizon, warm and bright like a new hope. They had faced darkness and won, not just with power, but with trust and love. Together, they looked to the future, ready for whatever it would bring. For in the heart of the darkest night, the light of courage and friendship shines the brightest.